Just when you think things cannot get any worse for Gennady Golovkin. Ah, man. First, where do I start? Golovkin apparently had another opponent on the short list as a possible replacement for Canelo Alvarez, and one of those opponents that really was snuck underneath my radar or anyone else's radar is the opponent that's pictured on the right of this collage here that I posted here, and that's Vanez Martyrosian. Okay, now if those of you who are not familiar with Vanez Martyrosian, he's a world title challenger at 154, formerly a world title challenger. He's challenged Arizona Lara. He fought him in 2 bouts, and he's challenged Demetrius Andrade as well. Okay, he's lost those fights. He's never been knocked out in his career. So yeah, he's a pretty decent fighter. He would be a acceptable replacement for Gennady Golovkin going into the May 5th bout at the Home Depot Center. Well, actually, it's no longer Home Depot Center. It's called the StubHub, which is in Carson, where I live pretty close by. It's a 9,000 seat capacity. And Golovkin's people, the reason why they chose a smaller venue because they needed to maximize on the ticket sales profits, given the fact that this is it's going to be pretty cheap for the fans to come and watch the spectacle. Of course, the biggest outcry about the situation is if Golovkin's replacement is not very is not very durable or worthy enough to be on pay-per-view. If not worthy enough, then it should not be on pay-per-view, okay? Other than maybe Canelo Alvarez. So that's the biggest outcry by most, by most critics. So anyhow, Martyrosian was approved by the California State Athletic Commission, CSAC, as a possible replacement opponent. But, that's a big word, but the sanctioning bodies, the WBA, the IBF, and the WBC have unanimously rejected Vanez Martyrosian as a possible replacement for Golovkin, okay? Now, here's a kicker here. Spike O'Sullivan was approved by the WBC, okay? But I think the problem why that cannot go further. Hopefully they can reconsider Spike O'Sullivan. Well, maybe I should say. Maybe, rather than hopefully, but maybe. Maybe they may reconsider him, but given the fact that the IBF and the WBA did not approve him, or the California State Athletic Commission did not approve him, then he's out of the question. He's out of the picture. So what is Golovkin going to do now? What is his team going to do now? Time is running out. And there's another report that came out that the fight is a serious jeopardy due to various reasons. Because Derevyanchenko, who's the IBF mandatory, the IBF is in crosshairs with the other sanctioned bodies because they're arguing that, hey, Golovkin hasn't made a mandatory defense in 2 years. So our mandatory is due. And this is a perfect time for us to capitalize on that and for him to fight his mandatory. But the WBC and the WBA's are objective to that idea. So there's a lot of conflicts going on here with this situation, and all thanks to Canelo's fuck up for him to ingest Combuterol or consume it. So man. But the thing is that Lou DiBella, who promotes Derevyanchenko, who's the IBF mandatory, has petitioned again the IBF to go ahead and force the fight or have Golovkin be stripped if he refuses to defend his title against Martyrosian. All right. And another kicker here is that Peter Nelson, who's the HBO sports executive vice president, he agreed recently to air Golovkin's fight live on the network on May 5th rather than keeping Golovkin on the pay-per-view. All right, so there you go. So Golovkin's next bout on May 5th, if it's still live, will be on HBO rather than a pay-per-view. And because the reason why that won't happen, because they know his next bout against someone who's relatively unknown or someone who doesn't really have the drawing power like Canelo Alvarez does, is not a pay-per-view worthy fight. That wouldn't draw. Again, to continue, Peter Nelson has acknowledged the idea that keeping Golovkin in a pay-per-view bout would not draw nowhere near the amount of buys as Alvarez and Golovkin rematch. That concession, which would have afforded Loeffner a license fee from the network that at least would cover some of the event's expenses. Still, it does not appear to be enough to have Golovkin fight on May 5th. Oh, shit. So now I run into budgeting issues on this. Okay. Oh, wow. All right. So if Golovkin does not fight on that night, sources have also informed Boxing.com that it's unlikely he will box before he faced Canelo Alvarez in the middleweight rematch, meaning he's going to be inactive for another several months until Canelo's cleared up. Man, that will depend on how long Alvarez's temporary suspension is extended when he meets with the Nevada State Athletic Commission in his monthly hearing or meeting that takes place on April 5th in Vegas. Well, we already know the situation with INSAC on temporary suspending Canelo. I don't know why they call it temporary suspension, but it is what it is. My God. I don't know what to tell you guys this. I mean, this is a very, very fucked up situation with Golovkin. Let me go ahead and run down the timeline here. Run down the timeline of this article. All right, first things first, this next bout is not going to be on HBO. I just stated that. Okay, great. But the problem is that they may not have enough money in the budget to licensing, as far as the licensing fee is concerned, to cover the cost for the event. So that's in jeopardy right now. Now, we already had two potential Golovkin opponents that's been rejected. One by INSAC in Vegas. Now in California, which they're going to move his bout to, in Carson, was rejected by the sanctioning bodies. Spike O'Sullivan more likely has been rejected. That's not definite, but from the looks of it, he's been rejected as well. So Golovkin is really, really running out of options here. So they need to find some way to get this done, because if they can't cover the costs for this event, or they can't get a suitable replacement opponent, then he's not going to fight on May 5th. And what sucks about this is that even though if he doesn't fight on May 5th, he won't be able to fight until Canelo was cleared. Oh my goodness. And Mr. Doc says, shout out to Mr. Doc. Mr. Loeffner, what the fuck have you got your fighter into when it comes to fishnecks, aka Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy? Why did you get him into this mess with this damn contract? I mean, Jesus. Oh, man. And what make matters worse is that Golden Boy, if he were to fight on May 5th, Golden Boy is still the lead promoter on this event. They still get the larger piece of the pie, despite the fact that he's fighting. So, if he fights on May 5th. Because now that's a big, big if. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Like I said, guys, Golovkin has been bashed enough already. I understand that most of the opponents that he's, not he, but his team are trying to find for him. They've been rejected left and right. But, again, this whole situation is not his fault, given the fact that Canelo is the one who put him in this predicament. And it seems to me that the sanctioning bodies and the State Athletic Commission would have to more likely unanimously agree that he's going to have to fight a tougher opponent on May 5th. Now, the question is, again, if he does get an opponent that's approved by the Athletic Commission and the sanctioning bodies, will they have enough money to cover the event based off the licensing fee by HBO? That's the question right there. Let me know what your thoughts about this. I'm going to drop a link to the article. Care to comment, share, subscribe. Signing off. Peace. I haven't said that in a long time, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to have to mention that again. I'm out.